Hey there. Welcome back to 10 Things I Hate About You. It's really 10 things I hate about your writing because I don't know you. I mean, I might like you. You might be awesome. But if you're an unpublished writer or you're a new writer and you're not selling very many books, odds are you're screwing up some of the stuff we talk about in this video series. I'm your host, John Hartness. I am a professional writer, editor, publisher, podcaster, YouTube nerd, lover of comic books, science fiction, and fantasy. And this episode is more like 10 things I hate about your pitch. And by your pitch, I don't mean when you came up to me at a convention last weekend and said, hey, I want to tell you about my book. Because I was probably hungover and I don't remember what you said. This is more about Twitter pitch contests. Last week, I participated in a Twitter pitch contest. And if you don't know what these are, it is a day-long event where you, as a writer, get on Twitter and use a certain hashtag. In this case, it was IWGSPIT, Internet Introverted Writers Support Group pitch. So it was hashtag IWGSPIT, and you write out your pitch, your Twitter length pitch, so 244 characters or less, and you tag it with that hashtag, and then you tag it with categories for your book. So, for example, if I were pitching Onlyist, behind me, I would do hashtag IWGSPIT, hashtag A for adult, because it's a book for grown-ups, not kids, and SF for science fiction. If I were doing The Elephant in the Room by my friend Tommy Tomlinson, I would do hashtag IWGSPIT, hashtag A because it's for grown-ups, and hashtag NF for nonfiction, maybe hashtag M for memoir or B for bio. You want to check the website for the pitch contest that you're doing to make sure that you are using the right hashtags. And that'll be something that we talk about a little later. So you go through and there are rules for these Twitter pitch contests. One of the rules is unless you are an editor that is acquiring books for publication or an agent, don't click the little heart, and don't comment. If you just want to be supportive because you think this is an excellent pitch, but you don't have any authority to buy the book, you retweet it. And you can retweet it with a comment, but retweets are for support, likes, and comments on the original post are for people who are buying books. I went through, and typically you can send out one tweet per book per hour. So if you're pitching 2 books, you can do 2 tweets per hour, 1 per book. So, and all of these rules will be described by either the about section of the Twitter account for the pitch contest, or there may be a website, yada, yada, yada. The same way you figure out the rules for anything on the internet, Google it. So, I participated because I am always looking for the next great thing, even though we're currently buying for fiction in 2023 and 2024. We have a lot currently under contract, so we're very selective in what we're buying, and we're not buying much for the next 2 years to come out in the next 2 years. But we're specifically looking for own voices stories, voices by people of color, voices by LGBTQ authors. We're looking for people from marginalized communities because as a cisgendered heterosexual white dude, I want to produce books by people who don't just look like me. This is a purely selfish motivation. I want everyone's money. I don't just want middle-aged white men's money. So I want to produce books that resonate with people from all communities. So we're specifically looking for own voices books. We also have some holes in our production schedule in our Falstaff Crush romance line. So I looked over some of the pitches, and I clicked like on about a dozen of them. Some of the ones I didn't click like on are because they didn't fit. There were a ton of children's books, a ton of middle grade, a ton of young adult fiction. We don't really do that. We do genre fiction. We do science fiction, fantasy, horror, romance, and we do books that are published for grown-ups. We'll delve into YA a little bit if the book is great and I feel like it can cross over, but if it's geared towards middle grade students or children or picture books, or it's a biography or a memoir, I'm not touching it. That's not what we do. So, as I was going through these pitches, I realized that there's some consistent mistakes people are making. Ergo, 10 things I hate about your pitch, how you are wasting your time and screwing up any opportunities you're going to get in your Twitter pitch contest. I made notes, and part of making notes and part of being a middle-aged guy, I have to get my readers. All right, so number 1. Fucking spell things right. Get your grammar correct. There were a couple that I might have been interested in, but there was a wrong apostrophe. There was a typo. Something was obviously misspelled. You have 200 characters, roughly, by the time you add the pitch tags, by the time you add your genre tags. You have 200 characters. Get them right, for God's sake. If you're not going to put that much effort into your pitch, why should I believe you're going to put that much effort into your book? I don't have time. I just told you we're 3 years out on publishing the things that we're buying. That means that we've got a couple hundred titles already under contract. So if I'm going to pick yours up, it better be good. It better be better than good. It needs to be the absolute best you can make it. And no, I'm not going to give you a pass because, oh, typos happen. You should have this pitch practiced, set into a Word document, spell-checked, workshopped, critiqued. You should have this thing looked at by half a dozen of your smartest writer-centric friends, 3 nuns and blessed by a priest, a week before this pitch session ever starts. There is no excuse for a typo. There's no excuse for a misplaced apostrophe in something like this. It's not like you're walking up to me at a convention where you'd never expected someone to say, well, tell me about your book, and you stumble a little. That's normal. That's what human beings do. But something like this, where you've known for months, or you had the ability to know for months that this was coming, you better be perfect. Because there are literally thousands of other people competing for my attention. Okay, this one's personal preference. And some of these will be personal preference, and some of these will be pretty much everybody. For me, I don't like Twitter pitches in the character's voice. It's cute. Some people like it in book blurbs. I don't. I want to hear a 200 character summation of the hook of the book. I don't want to hear, I'm the bestest dog ever. I peed on 3 things to claim them for my master because I'm the bestest dog ever. I really hope that that's you writing a children's book in the point of view of a dog and not a hard sci-fi. But either way, I don't want a twit pitch in the character's voice. Look around, look at what other people are doing, look at what the other people that are part of this group that are preparing for this pitch contest are doing, and follow the norms. If only one person in 20 is writing their pitch in the character's voice, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're brilliant and unique. It might mean that they're stupid and they suck. Being unique isn't always great. You know, a lot of stupid people are also very unique. There is some astounding individuality in this world, and not all of it's good. Pomposity. Don't be a pompous douche in your pitch. Don't talk about how great. Don't make me think that you're struggling to use smart words. Make sure your language flows. Make sure it's natural. If it reads like your dissertation or your MFA thesis, then it probably sucks as a novel pitch. Honestly, if your college creative writing professor would give you an A+ on it as the beginning of an essay, it's probably shit for a commercial fiction pitch. Nothing against creative writing professors. I'm sure some of you are lovely people, but there are different goals. My goal is to sell books to human beings. If your goal is to win the Booker Prize or the Man Book Award or whatever it's called now, that doesn't typically fall in science fiction, fantasy, horror, or romance. So we're going to be working at cross purposes. If you're telling me that this book isn't Onlyist because Onlyist is a mediocre science fiction novel and this book is what women really want to read, not that crap that's out there on the market today, well, next time just type in, I'm a fucking asshole. I want you to buy my book, lols. Because that's what you're saying. I saw multiple Twitter pitches that were, this book is not this thing because this thing is stupid and my book is brilliant. Or people might tell you that this book isn't saleable, but this book is really what people want to read. Because you've never sold a fucking book in your life and you know what the market wants. And that's why you're an unpublished writer, because obviously everybody wants to read your goddamn brilliance. Maybe you're a pompous twit and you don't know what the market wants, and that's why nobody's buying your manuscript. Don't be a pompous twit. Also, if you really do think that another product is competing with your product, don't validate that product by talking about it. I don't believe that other publishers are my competitors. I don't. But if I thought that Chris Kennedy was my competition, I would never in a million years say, well, you should never publish your books with Chris Kennedy Publishing because they're not very good. Because what does that do? It has put his name in my mouth, and I have now validated him. For the record, I'll validate Chris Kennedy Publishing as often as you'd like me to. I've written and will continue to write stories for Chris. He's a great guy, and his publishing company does great work. So, don't be pompous. Categorize your shit right, and understand what it means to be an adult-centric novel. It doesn't mean porn. Sorry. I mean, there's plenty of porn out there, and porn's great, but that's not what this is about. That's a whole different YouTube channel. I don't have a porn YouTube channel. But, for example, there was a book on the Twitter pitch that had a 17-year-old protagonist, and it classified it as an adult thriller. Well, no. If it's a 17-year-old protagonist, odds are it's going to be classified as a YA book, unless it's very specifically written with an adult audience in mind, and you're fighting uphill to get there, because most readers, publishers, booksellers, reviewers are going to expect a book that starts with a young protagonist to be geared at young people. Onlyest is a fine example. Onlyest is an adult science fiction novel with a young female protagonist. It is not a YA novel. So nothing about the way we've crafted and presented the book looks YA. J. Daniel Batt didn't have to go through a Twitter pitch contest to get interest in that book either. He knew one of our acquiring editors. She took a look at the book, said it was brilliant. John, you should buy this. And I said, well, that's why I have acquiring editors. Okay, we'll buy the book. She was right. By the way, it's a beautiful book. Everyone should read it. Onliest, available at falstaffbooks.com. Yeah, I'm that shameless still. Get used to it. But if you're pitching in 200 characters, you got to make sure that I can know what's going on. And if you're going to muddy the waters, you're probably not going to get many likes or many requests for submission. So hit your genre norms and fit to publishers' expectations. I know, you're out there thinking, wow, this guy's stifling my creativity. He's terrible. This author and this author and this author all do that. Go find my video on reader equity and why you don't have any. Because that's what it boils down to. Published authors with a dozen books under their belt, or published authors with 2 books under their belt, have reader equity because they've proven to editors and publishers that they can write a book. If you're in a Twitter pitch contest, you haven't really proven that you can write a book. Inspired by actual events. You know what those words mean? Those words mean that sometime, somewhere, something really close to about 3 sentences of this book really happened, and I don't want anybody to sue me, so it's inspired by these events. Just don't do it. Write a memoir or write fiction. Films are inspired by actual events or inspired by a book when they've bought the rights to this story and they want to mangle it all to hell and make it look nothing like the source material, but they've paid for it and it was in the contract they have to put inspired by. Sometimes people don't know the difference between a pitch to a publisher and a pitch to a customer. A pitch to a publisher is, this is this happened, this happened, this happened, it's like this meets this, and here are the categories. A pitch to a human will have a lot more plot and will give away a lot more detail, and it will generally be more hype-centric. You don't really hype up a pitch to a publisher. You're kind of business-like, here's what's going on. It's an urban fantasy novel about a guy who's hunting monsters, and here's why it's different than every other guy hunting monsters, and it may be the beginning of a series. Not, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. You have to read it right now. It's going to change your life. Yeah, know your audience. Just don't fucking do weird-ass high fantasy names. Weird names with apostrophes in odd places. Just call everybody Fred if you can't come up with anything, but Jesus wept. You don't have to put an apostrophe in every high fantasy name. It's not all about Tolkien elf names. Make names that people can pronounce. Make sure your pitch stays in 1/10. If a young girl who has been traveling alone through space for her entire life suddenly realizes that she's all alone on a spaceship and then things get strange, well, that's a pitch all in present tense. If Sin was alone on the spaceship for her entire life, and suddenly one day wait, what? She's? Why did we switch tense? Again, reader equity. You don't have it, so follow the norms, follow the rules. Keep your shit in past tense or present tense. Mary Robinette Kowal gets to switch from past tense to present tense in the last chapter of Calculating Stars. You know why? Because she won the Hugo for that book. Because the book's brilliant and she has a long-standing career as a fiction writer. You don't. Keep your shit in one tense. Make sure they're complete sentences. Make sure there's a verb. I saw multiple pitches that didn't have a verb. When Sally met Harry in the dark of night, comma, her hair blowing in the wind, comma, his breath, I don't know, coming in short gasps, period. You started that sentence with a dependent clause and then put two other dependent clauses in there, and you never gave us an independent clause at the end. So when Sally met Harry, this happened, this was a thing, but what happened here? Your sentence isn't complete. Now, I just made that one up because I didn't want to write down the pitch that I looked at and said, yeah, your third sentence doesn't have a verb, because I wasn't going to buy the book and it wasn't a very good pitch. But make sure your shit's in complete sentences. I know some of these sound like very simple things. Do you know why I'm writing them down and why I'm swearing about them at 11 o'clock on a Monday night? Because people keep doing it badly. And I want you to sell your book. I want you to make lots and lots of money off of your book and be eternally grateful and donate mobs of cash to the Falstaff Books Patreon and, I don't know, buy all my books and buy all the Falstaff titles and fall in love, get married, have 2 dogs, buy me a new limited edition death statue. But I want you to sell your book. So I have to remind you that if you just do a little bit of prep work, you're ahead of half the field. Because half the people submitting books are idiots. By the way, if you're one of those idiots I'm talking about, and you're sitting there thinking, is he talking about me? I did that. Am I an idiot? Again, this one's a personal preference. I saw a pitch that was formatted like the protagonist's to-do list. I didn't like it. Don't do that. Just make a pitch that looks like every other pitch. I know you want to stand out. You know how you stand out? If you do everything right, you stand out because you're ahead of 2/3 of the field. Then, if you can write and you have a unique voice, you stand out even more. So if you just do the work and do the work as well as you can and get better at your craft every day, then you'll get there. It'll happen. But it ain't going to happen overnight. None of it happens overnight. I am currently 10 years into building my overnight success story. I'll let you know when it happens, because then I'll probably be I'll have a 25-year career to get to be an overnight success, because that's how it happens a lot of times. This is one. This is a good one. This was pitched as an adult book, but it started by talking about the main character's invisible friend. We have a genre problem, my friend. Invisible friends are things 4- and 5-year-olds have. Adult novels aren't written about 4- and 5-year-olds. So you are working against type. That's going to be tough. Multiple issues. Your protagonist was abused, poverty-stricken, diseased, and going through war. Yeah, I probably now think it's a young adult issue book. Even though you didn't tag it as YA, all of a sudden I think it's going to be a preachy, pedantic issue book. There are enough of those out there, and I don't want to publish them. I found a pitch. I read a pitch that was one sentence. The sentence was 44 words long, had 5 dependent clauses in this one sentence, and I have no idea what was going on. I do not trust that author to ever write a clear narrative in their book, because I got no idea what the hell they were trying to say in their pitch. Sit down and try to write a 44-word sentence with 5 dependent clauses. Note, I did not tell you how many independent clauses are in the sentence because I never found them. So, we got a problem. If you don't know whether a word has a hyphen or not, don't use the word. If you're going to use a hyphen, know how to use the hyphen. Know where the hyphen goes. Con artist is not a hyphenate. I know they're hard. I get it. I also don't give a shit. It's 200 words. You have 200 characters. They all better be right. Ah, tweet spamming. Dum dum dum. I mentioned at the very beginning of this that you get 1 tweet per book per hour. That does not mean you get 1 tweet with this book labeled adult, 1 tweet with this book labeled young adult, 1 tweet with this book labeled fantasy, and 1 tweet with this same book labeled as a middle grade novel. Spoiler, it's not, because it's not going to be all 3 things. And part 2 of that, you're an asshole. You're trying to manipulate the rules of the contest, and you're going to end up making life more difficult if anyone like me does like your pitch, and then they have to deal with you. Don't pitch more than 2 books. In a perfect world, don't pitch more than 1. But in something like this, where it's a condensed time frame for pitching, pitch 1 book. Why should you only pitch 1 book? Because that book's ready. That book is polished. That book is perfect. The pitch is polished. The pitch is perfect. You're not going to end up half-assing any element of the pitch or any element of the book. If you're out there pitching 3 or 4 different novels, and I notice, because I will, I'm not going to know which book's really complete, and I don't know how much I'm going to trust you. Also, please, pretty please, because these pitches live past the time of the contest, and some of us, editors, probably some agents, go looking at these Twitch contest hashtags the day after. Shut up, it's water. or even 2 days after, it's probably a bad idea to get up the next morning and say, I got a few people saying they liked my pitch. I should probably write a query letter now. Fuck you, you unemployable fuck. I mentioned that we have many books under contract. We're a very small independent publisher, and I am buying for 2023 in January of 2020. That's how many great books I have found. That's how many great books, almost universally, by great people, I have found in just the 5 years we've been open. I don't know all of my authors yet. Some of them may not be great. Most of them are. You're not just competing for a slot with everybody else who's pitching a book. You're competing for a slot with everybody that publisher's already publishing. Because let me tell you something. I clicked like on 10 or 12 pitches. If I get queries from all of them, and if I look at them and two of them are really good, and J. Daniel Batt sends me a manuscript that's also really good, if those 3 titles are all equal, I'm buying his. Because I've worked with him. I know he's a good person. I hold a certain number of production slots every year for authors that I know are under contract to give me books. So you're not just fighting with everybody out there in the Twitterverse. You're also fighting with everyone that publisher's already publishing. Hell, I take up about 6 of our publication slots myself because I write a lot of books. And I'm not going to reject my books because I sell some. So understand that you don't have to just be better than everybody that's never published a book. You have to be better than everybody who's not under contract and has published a book. Because they start off with an edge. Because they have equity with publishers and editors. Because they've proven that they can write a book. And you haven't yet. You haven't proven that you can revise a book. You haven't proven that you can go through the process of creating a book. They have. So your pitch has to be brilliant. Your book has to be exquisite. If you're not willing to put in the work to make your book as absolutely amazing as you possibly can, quit. Stay home. Keep your day job. And stay out of my fucking business. This isn't just a job. This is how I feed my family. This is my living. Nothing comes in unless it is absolutely the best thing we can produce. So if you're half-assing your pitch, I don't want to work with you. I don't want to waste my time on you. All right, this is the last thing because we've run long. Allow yourself to succeed. I posted something right after I finished up with, I had liked about 10 or 12 pitches. I thought to myself for a second, let's just call people out. I know, I have a whole YouTube channel where I yell at writers. I have a press where I yell at writers. But here's one. Here's an opportunity for me to call writers on their bullshit. You see, lots and lots of writers want to participate in things and then not follow through. So I posted on Twitter that I had clicked like on about a dozen Twitter pitches. And then I said, let's see how many of them reply. If history holds, it will be less than 4. Let that sink in for a second. I'm a publisher. I produce books. I sell books. I create books that you can put on your shelves. I make writers' dreams come true. And I was expecting 1/3 of the people who made it through the biggest challenge to even reply to me when I say, that sounds interesting, send me a cover letter and 3 chapters. Now, I am pleased to report that I've gotten about 6. That means that half the people that I clicked like on did not reply to me in any way. One writer did reply, and she and I know each other, so we were talking offline, and she said, I'm really trying to get an agent with this book. And then, if I get an agent with this book, can my agent submit it to you? And I said, absolutely. And if you don't get an agent with this book, we can still talk about this book. It's a really interesting premise. And she's already published a book, so I know she can write a book. 5 people have sent me queries and the first 3 chapters. That means that 6 people have sent me nothing and have communicated with me in no way. Some of them may have found an agent. Some of them may not want to work with a press that doesn't pay advances. So let's say that half of those 6 looked at Falstaff and decided that we're not a good fit for them. Good for you. You did your work. So that still means that 25% of the people pitching fall into the category that I'm talking about here. And that is people who auto-reject themselves. Self-rejection is such a huge part of this industry. I know many authors who have had agents, editors, publishers tell them, that sounds really interesting. You should send it to me. And they do nothing. I don't really feel very bad handing out my business card at conventions because I know only 1 person in 3 will actually follow up and submit a book. Why are you doing that? Why are you afraid to succeed? Why are you getting halfway there and quitting? Getting my attention on your project is the hard part. I clicked like on 12 tweets. I probably read 150. So if I clicked on you, you were in the top 10% for what we're trying to do. Why would you stop? Why self-reject? I'm probably still going to reject your book. So are 10 other publishers. I just signed a contract last week on a book. I think I was publisher number 41 that got that manuscript. I'm thrilled to have it. I think the book's amazing. 40 other publishers disagreed. 35 of those publishers didn't even reply to the agent that submitted it. I think that's insane, but my business model is obviously different. There's enough rejection out there. You're gonna encounter plenty. Don't do it to yourself. When someone gives you a yes, take it. When you work to get an opportunity and that opportunity is granted, grab it. Don't talk yourself out of succeeding. Instead, say, why not? There's going to be a lot of people in your life. They're going to say, oh, well, how are you going to do that? Well, why do you think you can succeed? Screw those people. Screw them all. Not literally. 1, there's a lot of them and you'd be really tired. 2, ick. And 3, forget about those people. I saw Kevin Smith do a keynote at the National Association of Broadcasters conference a long time ago. It was right when he was doing Red State. He had just finished doing Red State. And he talked about the need to surround yourself with why not people. No matter what stupid idea you come up with, you need a crew of people around you who will say, why not? We can do that. Might be fun. So when somebody says, yeah, I want to take a look at your book. I might want to publish it. Don't think, it's not good enough. It's only been revised 4 times. I won't think it should be revised 7. I don't think it's ready. Say, why not? And send it out there. If you've done the work and you've done the pitch and the book is good and somebody says they want to see it, you're halfway there. You've already gotten past all of those form rejections until somebody says, yes. Publishing is a long string of no's until somebody says yes. Once somebody tells you yes, then the last thing you need to do is tell you no. Have faith in the work that you've done. Have faith in your ability. Say, why not? And send the book. We, Falstaff, are still closed to unagented submissions. So if you would like to submit a book to Falstaff, the way to do that is either participate in Twitter pitch contests, and maybe I'll like your pitch. Show up at a convention, go to panels, talk to us. Maybe you'll have a great pitch. There are frequently pitch sessions at conventions. The next one we're at is Mysticon at the end of February in Roanoke, Virginia. Come by and say hello. The weekend after that, we'll be at the Saga Writers Conference in Charlotte, which is 2 days of professional writing development for genre fiction writers. You need to haul your ass down there. We're putting on the show. There's no better way to get FaceTime with the people who buy books for us. So come find us at a convention. Or get an agent. Have your agent send us a pitch. We'll also be open for submissions for the month of February 2021. That's all. Don't need to be. Got great books. You're going to send me a great book. Hey, maybe you've already sent me a great book. Eventually I'll get around to reading it. I might be behind on my submission reading. Sorry about that. So tell yourself, why not? Do the work. Believe in the work. It'll get you there. And until then, be good to one another. Be good to yourselves. All right?